Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesdays with Wendy, where we make small business ownership less stressful, one step at a time. Today, we are talking about the question on everyone's mind this time of year: should you do your own taxes? This is a biggie, and you're going to want to stay tuned and see my opinion and some suggestions as to how to answer that. First, my name is Wendy Kane. I'm the owner of Kane Accounting and Financial Coaching. I do bookkeeping and payroll for independent contractors and small businesses so that you can have peace at tax time and throughout the rest of the year. Okay, so should you do your own taxes? Well, as with everything, it depends. Here are my personal guidelines and my opinion as to whether you should do your own taxes. There's no right or wrong answer. It really comes down to you and how comfortable you are with numbers and analytics and maybe looking up a few rules and such. All right, so first thing to ask yourself, do you want to do your own taxes? Some people are like, I could probably do that. It's not that hard, and I'll beg to differ, but for now, let's go with that. It's not that hard. It shouldn't be that hard. Surely I can. I mean, the instructions are supposed to be written on a fourth grade level. Now, there's some pretty smart fourth graders out there if you go by that. However, if you are willing to sit down and take the time and read through the rules and ask questions if you don't understand, you can probably do your tax return yourself. If you are an individual and all you have are W-2s, you should absolutely do that yourself. You can use any of the tax software out there, um, which I'll talk about in a future episode. But it should not be that hard. A lot of them have interview style. They will ask you the questions and you find the number or the information from your tax document, put it on the in the software, and it calculates everything for you. So, if you're an individual and you just have W-2s, go for it. That should not be a problem. If you have a small business and you are a sole proprietor or a single member LLC, those two businesses, your tax return is just Schedule C of your personal return. Okay. You still file the Form 1040 like you would do for your personal, which you have to do for your personal anyway. And so it is only, you just have a different schedule on that one form that you have to fill out. So again, if you are comfortable reading some rules, you're comfortable with numbers and everything, I think you should be able to do your own taxes if you are a sole proprietor or a single member LLC. That should not be too complicated if you're willing to sit down and do it. If the thought of sitting down on a Saturday and looking at numbers and reading rules just makes you want to run screaming from the room, then by all means, pay somebody. Pay somebody to do your taxes. Your time and your sanity is not worth the mental anguish of trying to go through all that. And if you're not well versed in financial and tax topics, there's a lot, you don't know what you don't know. And so if it were me and I was telling my good friend, like, look, if you're not a numbers person, I get it. That's okay. I'm not a medical person. You don't want me being your nurse. You don't want me giving you a shot. Like, I would freak out before you ever did. Okay. There's the reason I do my bookkeeping and payroll and I don't do medical things. So if the thought of doing taxes on your own makes you scream, then pay somebody. There's no shame in that. In fact, I pay somebody. I started about 3 years ago. I can certainly do it. I've done my own taxes since I was 18. I've prepared other people's taxes, but I finally realized it had been a while since I had really done a tax return and the rules have changed. And I thought, my time is more valuable. So I'm going to pay somebody to do my taxes. And then I can take that time to work on my business, which in the long run will get me more money than me trying to find every little tiny deduction on a tax return on a Saturday. Okay, so we talked about sole proprietors and single member LLCs. If you feel comfortable, do it yourself. If you don't, then hire somebody. Okay, That brings us to the next level of business. If you are an S corporation or if you're two-member LLC, by definition, by default, you are a partnership. Partnerships must file Form 1065, which is a completely separate form from your 1040. Okay? S corporations file Form 1120S, which is a completely separate form from your Form 1040. My recommendation on this is that if your business is big enough that you have made the S corp election or your partnership and you've got two of you, my recommendation is do not do these taxes yourself. There are a lot of different rules for businesses. This is a different tax form, and I think you would be better off paying somebody to do those for you. Now, again, there's no law that says you have to. If you're really interested in this stuff and you really want to sit down and dig into the rules and figure out and make sure you're calculating things correctly, I mean, you go for it. There's no harm in it if you're willing to do that. But if you're not, please pay somebody. Remember, you don't know what you don't know. And you might not get the tax return wrong, but you might not get it as right as it could be. And then you could also get it way wrong. I have seen some way wrong tax returns before. So, again, all these trump everything. If you want to do it, go for it. But I just wouldn't do it. If you are an S corporation or a partnership, I would pay somebody. And that's coming from a CPA who has done taxes. I would pay somebody to do those tax returns for you because once you get to that level, it's a whole new ball game. And there's a lot of different rules that you're not used to. Okay, that is a quick synopsis of should you do your own taxes. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and let me know, and I can answer them. I can't tell you 100% for sure if you should do your own taxes, but I can give you some, advice and guidance and see where you are maybe and help you that way. All right, that is it for this week. Remember, no one is born knowing how to do this, and it is not taught in school. If you're feeling lost and overwhelmed, you are not alone. That's why I'm here to help you. Y'all go to my website, and I'll see you next week.